What is up, everybody? I am Simeon Zoom, and we are back with another episode of Every Single Superpower Ranked and Explained, the series where I go over every superhuman ability known to man in preparation for the eventual Every Single Superpower tier list. This is episode 8, and today we're talking about Electrokinesis. So Superpower Wiki's description of this one is very long and thorough, so I'm gonna read it. It's gonna take a little while, and then we'll go over the variations and such. Users can shape, create, direct, and possess complete control over electricity, a form of energy resulting from the movement of charged particles such as electrons or protons. This energy is ever present, coursing through wires, storm clouds, and even living bodies, and the user stands at the center of it all, acting as both conductor and generator. They don't merely wield electricity, they become one with it, channeling raw current through their body harmlessly. Electricity flows around them like an extension of their will, crackling in arcs or coiling into brilliant threads of light. They can discharge vast amounts of electrical power to shock their opponents, with effects ranging from temporary paralysis to severe burns, or, in extreme cases, stopping your heart outright. These strikes may come in the form of lightning-fast bursts, sustained currents, or widespread electrical waves that travel across conductive surfaces. Their influence doesn't stop at close range. The user can call lightning directly from the sky, turning a clear day into a battlefield charged with crackling tension. More advanced users can manipulate the very weather patterns above, guiding the currents of the upper atmosphere to summon thunderstorms at will. Just a note, we're not going to be expanding on that specific part because next week we're talking about weather manipulation. Spoiler alert. This gives them both an immense area of effect and psychological dominance, as even nature itself seems to respond to their command. Some opponents may boast resistance to electricity, but that hardly ensures safety. Lightning bolts produce temperatures nearing 30,000 degrees Kelvin, roughly 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Even if the electricity doesn't pierce their defenses, the sheer thermal force and shockwave that accompanies each strike can incinerate, rupture, or obliterate obstacles in the user's path. Lightning strikes are even capable of breaking bones and heating objects such as trees internally until they explode, adding blunt trauma to the list of potential effects on the target. A powerful user could replicate a lightning strike on any level. Beyond offense, the user's control over electricity extends to near limitless applications. They can magnetize or demagnetize objects, manipulate electric fields to hover or fly, and emit powerful electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, that dismantle machinery and technology in a wide radius. Their senses may evolve to detect electric signatures, allowing them to perceive life forms, track movement, or navigate blind through electronic echoes. Technology too bends to their will, allowing them to remotely access, disrupt, and control technology, such as mobile phones, televisions, computers, traffic lights, etc. They would be able to perceive or even control data stored on electronic devices, or even assume control over the entire device purely through electrical connection. With a single spark, they can bring machines to life or reduce them to smoldering ruin. The user's mastery of electricity isn't limited to destruction, as it enhances nearly every aspect of their movement, perception, and strategy. By stimulating their own nervous system and muscle fibers with controlled bursts of bioelectricity, they can achieve superhuman speed and reflexes, reacting faster than the eye can track. But beyond mere acceleration, the user can move at speeds approaching that of a lightning bolt itself, from 50,000 up to 100,000 kilometers per second. In combat, this renders them nearly untouchable, allowing them to cross battlefields in microseconds, strike multiple foes in an instant, or vanish before a thought can form. Some users can even simulate instantaneous movement by transforming themselves into pure electrical current, traveling along conductive paths, metal, wires, moisture in the air, and emerging from outlets, exposed wiring, or even storm clouds. To an onlooker, the user doesn't run. They vanish and reappear with the explosive crack of thunder. a blur of light that moves with the fury of a natural disaster. The user's senses become similarly enhanced. Through electroreception, they can detect electrical signals generated by living beings, sensing heartbeats and brainwaves even through walls or in total darkness. They can see electronics as glowing networks of current and hear radio frequencies like whispers in the air. With this heightened awareness, they are nearly impossible to sneak up on and can hunt targets like a predator tracing the current of life itself. As their power evolves, so too does its scale and complexity. A novice might fire off bolts or short out circuits, but a seasoned master of electricity could become a force of nature. They may create storms that span miles, forge sentient constructs of living lightning, or envelop entire regions in electromagnetic chaos that disrupts satellites, communications, and power grids. At their peak, the line between the user and electricity itself may blur entirely. They become energy incarnate, existing as living plasma, able to phase through conductors or travel as pure current. If strong enough, the user can extend their control to the very fabric of matter itself, manipulating electric fields in all charge carriers, including ions, electrons, protons, and even positrons. This grants them the ability to influence not just electricity as a force, but the electromagnetic interactions that bind atoms together. They could weaken molecular bonds, disintegrate matter at a structural level, or conversely, reinforce and reshape materials by rearranging atomic charge distributions. Such mastery also allows for intimate and devastating manipulation of biological systems by directly influencing the flow of ions and electrical impulses within a living creature's nervous system. The user could paralyze, control, or even erase thoughts and memories. They wouldn't just be fighting their opponents, they'd be overriding the commands of their bodies and brains. In essence, the user doesn't simply wield a weapon, they embody a fundamental force of nature. Their power is swift, unpredictable, and devastating. Whether launching a storm from the heavens or charging their fists with fatal current, they are a living storm, uncontainable, untouchable, and alive with energy. So like I said, that was a very long and thorough description, and it is worth noting that we're gonna be skipping over anything that involves weather manipulation or electromagnetism because both of those are getting their own videos down the line. And today I just want to focus on manipulation of electricity. This page isn't split into multiple levels because it assumes the maximum potency of electrokinesis, which means with this ability on top of the basic electricity projection and absorption, you'd also gain access to electrical conversion, which is the ability to convert other kinds of energy into electricity and vice versa, which if used correctly can imitate quintessence force, which is the power to generate infinite energy. With electrotelekinesis, you'd be able to move things with your mind by way of electrical currents, including yourself, allowing you to fly without the need for lightning mimicry. Any form of telekinesis is favorable, so this ability would be a welcome one, as it essentially just adds an extra aspect to your electricity projection and manipulation. The Superpower Wiki page also lists electric field manipulation, but I am not gonna include that in my personal definition of electrokinesis. Let me read you the description and then hopefully you'll understand why not. The user can create, shape, and manipulate electric fields, the force that holds atoms together within objects and machines, and/or a field that surrounds and dwells within a person or being. They can generate electrical fields and field waves of their own to form tangible force fields and many other feats, or negate existing electrical fields, block attacks, and knock away opponents. So basically low-level matter manipulation. There's no way in hell I'm lumping in anything that can be considered atomic dismantling with electrokinesis. So we're gonna skip electric field manipulation as far as the sub-ability of electrokinesis. We'll probably cover that one in more detail when I get down to electromagnetism. And obviously, electrokinesis would grant access to electricity absorption for the purposes of charging one's own abilities, Some characters consume electricity as opposed to eating and drinking like an ordinary person. Some characters use electricity absorption to facilitate regeneration, and some characters don't get any extra benefits from absorbing electricity at all. We have electric attacks, which is a little silly to include here. I feel like whoever put this page together added a little bit too much stuff, but I can see why it's here. Having electric attacks basically means you can use electricity offensively without tapping into the intricacies of electrokinesis as a whole. It's like having an electric type TM in your back pocket that you can use at will. But to include this here is redundant because I already have access to a load of other electricity based abilities that I can just use in offensive ways rather than using any given specific electrically based technique. Electric attacks applies more to people who can't just manipulate electricity willy-nilly, but they do have access to a move that allows them to shoot lightning or move at lightning speed, something like that. Electric channeling, electric augmentation, and electric conductivity are all slightly different iterations of the same ability, which is to move electricity through one's own body and therefore amplify its intensity, change its properties, and or use that electricity for various means, like self-sustenance or something like electricity infusion, where you're turning a sword into a lightning sword or a normal gun into a lightning blaster. The main thing that makes channeling, augmentation, and conductivity stand out is the need for an outside source of electricity to harness rather than just performing any of the aforementioned actions by way of your own power. Characters with higher levels of electricity manipulation can also create constructs with their power, which is described by Superpower Wiki like this. The user can turn electricity into different shapes and forms of varying detail and permanence, ranging from simple representations such as images to individual elements, substances, and materials composing other objects, to functional items such as tools and weapons, and more complex creations such as living or non-living entities, architectural structures, and even environments in certain cases. Depending on their control over the source of their constructs, those who have mastered this ability can use it in almost any situation, creating anything they need. So users of electricity constructs can create additional appendages, armor, clothing, barriers, weapons, structures, and vehicles, basically anything you can think of depending on their skill level. Lightning clone jutsu is a form of electricity construct creation. Enel's 30 million volt Hino is a lightning construct. Shock Rock, Static Shock, and even the 4th Raikage all utilize electricity constructs for various reasons. Another aspect of this is electrical force field creation, which is exactly what it sounds like. Using your electrokinesis to create barriers specifically. Creating force fields is just another form of electricity construct creation, but it's such a prevalent ability in fiction that I do think it deserves its own moniker. Electrokinesis also enhances the senses, meaning the user may or may not have access to electroreception, which is a supernaturally enhanced version of what we see in real life nature, where certain mostly aquatic animals can sense electromagnetic fields and currents and either use that to navigate their environment, detect predators, or hunt prey. Electroreception as it pertains to electrokinesis might allow you to physically see electric currents in the air, flowing through wires and in machinery, and at the higher level within other beings. Through this, you'd gain access to blind sight, 360-degree vision, compass sense by sensing global magnetic poles, and with absolute mastery, you could even read someone's thoughts or emotions by learning the meaning of certain patterns of firing neurons. The most basic application of electricity manipulation is electricity projection, which is the ability to generate and emit electric currents in the form of arcs, balls, beams, blasts, and naturalistic lightning strikes, specifically those fired from your person rather than calling them down from the sky or some external source. Even though electricity projection is very simple and easily countered, the simple fact that electric currents flow at a higher speed than humans can perceive with the naked eye, let alone react to, means electricity projection is a guaranteed hit in most scenarios. Electricity in general also maintains temperatures close to that of the sun's surface. The electricity coming from your household sockets ranges from 140 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, So hot enough to burn you, but nothing too crazy. Arcs of electricity from industrial generators can reach 35,000 degrees, and a bolt of natural lightning can reach 50,000 degrees. The sun's surface and lower atmosphere range from 10 to 20,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But I want to make this clear because saying lightning is hotter than the sun is a little contentious. The sun has a radius of 432,000 miles. The chromosphere and photosphere combined make up the outer 1,300 miles. And those are the coolest areas of the sun by a matter of millions of degrees. The first inner layer of the sun, the convection zone, rests between 3.5 million and 4 million degrees Fahrenheit, and it only gets hotter from there. So it's important to remember that lightning is much hotter than the sun's surface, but nowhere near the heat of the sun's actual meat. Saying all that to say that lightning projection may also be a form of heat-based attack depending on how realistic your power system is. The other side of this is lightning negation, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's the ability to cease all electric activity in a given area, whether that be via direct contact, it could be electrotelekinetically, or it could be contained to your own physical form by way of electric immunity. Every electrokinetic has some sort of electric immunity or resistance in pertinence to their own electric projections so that they aren't damaging themselves by using their abilities. In the same way, pyrokinetics and cryokinetics have a level of temperature resistance or immunity. Electrokinesis also grants access to superbly enhanced mobility by way of lightning auras, which essentially carry the user at lightning speed and allow them to access flight or levitation. Electric transportation sees the user transform into a mass of electricity and travel that way, moving through telephone wires and other conductive surfaces. This level of increased speed is usually mixed into the user's hand-to-hand combat in order to leverage their ability to move faster than many characters will be able to react to. Kakashi's Raikiri, the third Raikage's Spear Hand, the fourth Raikage's Lariat, these are all physical lightning attacks that specifically utilize the increased movement speed granted by electrokinesis. On the other hand, characters like Electro and Livewire are ranged fighters who use electric transportation as a means of dodging attacks and just plain traveling from place to place. And with all that being said, how would electrokinesis serve you in real life? Well, in our digital age, the ability to manipulate electrical currents and therefore destroy machinery of all kinds and feed off of central power grids, as well as dodge bullets at lightning speed and travel through electrical infrastructure, basically makes you a minor god in a world where nobody else has powers. High-level electrokinesis is an A tier power just short of S tier because you need a specific power set to fully counter. Someone with mental manipulation, supernatural durability, or speed around the same level as that of electricity would have a much easier time combating somebody with this ability, and powers like time manipulation are a hard counter to lightning manipulation and just about everything else. Now, supernatural durability doesn't fully counter because depending on the character, that durability might not come with elemental immunity or electricity resistance, and sustained blast of lightning would result in extreme surface temperatures that could break through defenses over time. What's keeping electrokinesis from being S tier is the fact that characters with greater speed kind of negate the main advantage of this ability. And you might have noticed that I didn't attribute blanket lightning mimicry to this ability, even though a lot of electricity manipulators will also possess mimicry, and that's because I'm lumping elemental mimicry in with intangibility, which again is getting its own video down the line. Electrokinesis can also be countered by insulation, again depending on the canon, and no ability that can't free you from a glass bubble isn't worth an S tier, at least if you asked me. And even then, only like low, mid-level electrokinesis users can be contained in such a way, and lightning manipulation or even lightning attacks is usually a game-breaking ability. For instance, the third and fourth Raikage are both two of the strongest ninja in Naruto, at least up until Boruto, simply because of the speed they get from their lightning auras and the destructive power that comes with moving at such a velocity. Certain characters are also capable of punching far above their weight because of the properties of lightning, like Livewire, who's capable of hurting Kryptonians with her lightning, even though she's nowhere near the level of Superman, and Electro is a serious problem for Marvel's mid-tiers. He's arguably the strongest member of the Sinister Six. Conditionally, it's Sandman, but we have seen Electro defeat Sandman. He's even capable of not having his powers entirely negated by Magneto. So yeah, Electrokinesis is a solid A tier ability. The only supplementary ability you really need to make this work is electricity resistance or immunity, and technically you don't even need that. Like Elle from Heroes does not have electric immunity. She consistently hurts herself with her electricity, and I'd still say she has one of the more broken offensive abilities in that show, barring the guy who blows up like a nuclear bomb, the guy who tears skulls open with telekinesis, and the guy who stops time. This has been Simeon Zoom with episode 8 of Every Single Superpower Ranked and Explained. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see more, because there's a lot more on the way. This is our Wednesday series, and starting this Friday, we're going to do media commentary on Fridays. And next Monday is going to start our power scaling and power scaling adjacent content every Monday. So we're going to be posting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the foreseeable future. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.